Hi, Carol. You're muted.
Hi, my son's in the kitchen and I'm chasing him out. So anyway,
Down the street, we're going to have to not do that tonight. But it's a high interest topic. Hi, Marcus.
How are you?
Marcus.
I like your background.
Thanks.
I just have my usual office. Whenever I have a background, my hair looks weird. It sort of slips in and out of visibility. And I snagged that one image of, what was it, Four Seasons landscaping. when I thought that would be a good background, but you know, had an old picture of Cedar Mill and stuff, but what the hey. Actually, I think I'll turn off my overhead light and put on my little, the remote for my fan stopped working, so I have no control over this thing. The back here. I don't understand it.
Oh, I am tired tonight.
Well, that's not
Trying to
good.
go.
It's been a long day.
Yeah. I go to bed early tonight.
How's that? Sort of dramatic, don't you think?
Yes. Yep, that's like my house. This room that my office is in is dark, and I mean I tried everything on, but it just I need some overhead fans and lights in
I
this
could
room.
blur my background like that, but I haven't been able to figure out how to do it. I like that. Emerging from the blur.
It's in, if you go to your video on the bottom, the little stop video, you can click the little up arrow
Oh,
and then choose virtual background.
oh,
And then in backgrounds and filters at the very top, there's a blur.
blur. Oh, I like it. Thank you. Very cool. Excellent.
Hey. And we still see all your hair.
Yes, it's all there. What's left of it.
Ponytail on the
My hair has been falling out in handfuls, and I just hate it. It's part of this whole stress thing and my gut malady and everything. I didn't have all that. I mean, I used to have super thick hair, and now all of a sudden I'm going to be bald before too long.
I do like it long. It's pretty.
Hi, Brenda. Long time no see. We got to go.
Hey, Virginia.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I miss you guys.
I keep thinking about that chicken wing place over by you.
Uh-huh. We may have to go visit again.
Yeah. There was just, I think it's called Eater Portland. It's a news magazine for restaurants, and they publish the 10 best chicken places in the Portland area. Chicken wing. And I think I'm going to try to visit them all.
Ooh, I am intrigued. Where was that? Where was that? I love wings.
It's Eater Portland. You can subscribe to it. Even with my gut malady, I'm sort of a food voyeur. I can't eat it, but I like to look at it. And I think it was just today it came up. I'll forward a link if you're interested. I kept it up on my desktop downstairs. There's some very interesting looking wings, and several of them are out here in the valley. So I don't know if you saw, but Ian has figured out how to do it, our meeting on YouTube rather than Facebook. So we're in transition. Good for you, Ian. And Ian, just by the way, I'm finally getting to the point of having a list of the stuff to work on for the a revised website. I asked him to delve into can't think of the name of it right now. The platform that we did the site on. Anyway, to fix a few things about the Cedar Mill News website that I haven't been able to figure out. WordPress, that's it. Hi, Bruce. Wake up, wake up.
Oh. Hey, Bruce. You snuck in there. I didn't see you.
Ken, I don't think I'll be able to sneak out.
Trying to find this wing article. I'm not seeing it.
Marcus just showed me how to blur my background. I've been wanting to do that for a long time. It looks like either you figured it out or you just have good lighting.
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Are you talking to me? Well, I have a reasonable background. I mean,
Yeah, but he showed me if when you go to the button on the bottom that says stop video and you click on the little upper arrow, it gives you some choices, and one of them is to blur your background. Ah, the ways of Zoom.
I'll show you, Virginia, sometime. There's also settings you can get in that will enhance your eyebrows or put lipstick on you,
Oh my
and you can
goodness.
even choose the shade.
I love it. My eyebrows are disappearing along with the rest of my hair.
my eyebrows have fallen into my nose.
I actually put makeup on for these meetings just so that my eyes don't completely fade away. Vanity at age 75.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
How about reduce the wrinkles? Do they have that?
I've given up on
Do they
that.
have that? Yeah, I'll take that.
If my eyes just are visible, I'm happy about that. Oh, we got a busy meeting tonight.
Could give Marcus hair.
Hey, I could use some hair too.
And Bruce, yes, yes, yes.
So in the tutorial, where you saw the little up arrow by stop video, Virginia, you click on the video settings.
Where it says stop video, but don't click on
Right,
it.
right.
Little arrow.
You go to the settings.
I go to video settings.
Then on the left side, you see background and filters.
Hey.
Now, you already found that for blurring. Down in the far,
You do have to stop the video before you get those cute little things.
down in the far bottom corner, it
Right.
says Studio Effects.
Yeah.
Click on Studio Effects and you'll see your eyebrows, your facial hair. I mean, you can do things you don't really want to do.
I may have to fool around with this later. Better.
But the lip color is very nice.
All right. So who else is there? Gosh, we're going to have a lot of guests this evening. Marcus, how long are you going to be able to stick around?
How long do you need me?
Well, it would be really helpful as I'm going through the introduction for you to be able to promote people as they arrive. And I sent that last email. In addition to the one you sent, I sent one to all of our presenters. If you could keep half an eye on that, would be really
Will
helpful.
do. I see Caleb, Jessica, Robin, Sandra, Brandon.
Yep. And some of them, I believe at least Brandon and Caleb will just be showing up at 7:30 just before it's time for them to present.
Well, I can stick around till then.
I got a bunch of things to put into chat. Nice to have you, Andrea. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I was trying to scroll down on the agenda. That doesn't work.
Perfect.
I wonder if it would make sense for me to put my agenda up because it's so detailed and precise.
I like that.
Shall I? Okay, I'll screen share that.
Anybody in the know would be like really impressed.
Now, yeah, good. Okay. So I won't, no, I better. I can't do the land acknowledgement without reading it. Why don't I pop it in? I'll pop it in after I finish reading the land acknowledgement.
Sure.
I do it in big types so I can actually read it. I know all the tricks.
You know a lot of tricks.
You don't know the half of it.
I do too.
You may.
I know probably 3/4 of it.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
As long as I keep learning new ones.
I'm keeping my mouth shut.
New tricks for old dogs. Don't know who EMJ is. If anybody is an attendee who should be a participant, but we don't recognize your name, your screen name, just let us know. You can type something into chat, I guess. Hi, Brian.
Good evening. Hey, Virginia. Hey, Chris.
Howdy.
Oh, there's Robin. I believe she should get promoted.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Well, we better start having some participants,
Yeah.
attendees show up, or else we'll wildly outnumber.
I know. Sometimes our meetings are like that. Oh, well. Hi, Robin. Thanks for attending.
Thanks for having me. Good to see you after such a long time.
I know. Yes, this is the lady who gave me my Western Red Cedars. Thanks for reminding me of that.
Yeah, it's been a while.
They're growing, and they take a lot of room.
Well, they probably are too close to the house, but in 30 years I'll be gone, so somebody else will have to deal with them.
Well, and when they get beyond 75 feet, you get maximum points in the backyard habitat program. So,
Wow, wonderful.
yeah, they're one of my canopy layers.
Yeah. If I ever get around to it, I'd like to apply for that because I have some natives. I'm still working on it though. I think we ought to go ahead and be ready to get started.
I'll make you host.
I think I'll just pin myself for a moment. Yeah, let's go ahead and start the recording. Am I recording it or are you, Marcus?
You can hit it.
I'll do it.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Welcome everyone to the February 8th, 2022 edition of CPO stands for Community Participation Organization. It's been going for many years. I got involved around 2002 or 3, I believe. Bruce was involved even before that, and we've kind of swapped roles over the years. He's the vice chair and the chair. And we'll start the meeting with our land acknowledgement, because we do live on Atfaladi Kalapuya land, also known as the Tualatin Band of the Kalapuyans, the first inhabitants of Washington County. We are grateful for the land we are on, Kalapuyan land. Signers of the Willamette Valley Treaty of 1855 were removed from their homelands to the Grand Ronde Indian Reservation. Today, their descendants are tribal members of Grand Ronde and Siletz tribes, carrying on the traditions and cultures of their ancestors. We acknowledge and express gratitude for the ancestors of this place and recognize that we are here because of the sacrifices forced upon them. In remembering these communities, we honor their legacy, their lives, and their continuation in our community. I'd like to invite all of us to reflect on the role government has played in the painful colonial history, and reflect as well on the resilience and healing of the Indigenous land and communities. We invite everyone to collaborate and work together with the tribes to take care of the land and water and the people who inhabit these spaces.
And so it is.
Yeah, so I'm going to put my agenda up because it's a very packed agenda tonight. We're going to start off with service provider updates. And then I have some announcements to make, and we can vote on the letter to be sent to the Board of Commissioners asking them to revise the laws so that nobody ever tries to propose a gas station in a wetland again. And then we're going to plunge into the topic of recycling. So I will stop my screen share and start introducing our community partner service providers. And I'll just take it in the order I have it on the agenda, which is starting with the Washington County Sheriff's Office.
Thanks, Virginia. I'm Brenda Schaefer. I am with the Washington County Sheriff's Office. I do community outreach in the CPO1 area and a little beyond. Always glad to join with you. I'm putting my contact information in the notes there because I want any of you to be able to reach out anytime you have a question. We've been launching a number of neighborhood watches. They're different than they used to be. Our current neighborhood watch model is based on getting to know your neighbors, knowing the right number to call for reporting and actively doing it. Learning more of what actually is suspicious behavior, and just learning what resources are available to help you directly and available to help people you see who are in need around you, that you can call us and we can help put them in touch with resources. So in your area, I have not seen our patrol person. They may be here attending. I haven't seen them yet. If you see somebody raise a hand, Marcus, you can bring them on, but I'm going to share our CPO1 map for the last year. These are calls for service that we have received. Now, if you've had a crime in your area and you don't see a marker, that means somebody should have called us to report it, but we didn't receive a report. So next time, make sure you call. We're continuing to see some thefts. This is package thefts. This is mail thefts. Unfortunately, we're getting some cars prowled. Make sure you lock up those car doors. You don't want people going inside and rifling through your stuff to see what they might like to take. At times, they may take letters or mail you received that day. You might not think it's important, but they could be key bits of information to steal your identity. They're not always after the latest gizmos. Sometimes they want to get into your identity and mess with your financial accounts or things like that. If your car is ever messed around with, if you ever see on a camera that somebody was trying your car doors, call us. Those are things that should be reported because they don't come to your house, do it, and then give up on their life of crime. Very often they move on to another car and some unfortunate person who didn't lock up, they're getting their car broken into, or, the door easily open and their things taken. So it's when we all work together and we are responding to calls. Do call us. If there's anything you hear tonight, when you need help, call us. We'll work at this all together, and we'll chip away at some of these problems we've been having with car prowling, especially.
I have a quick question.
Absolutely.
Somebody posted about a phone app that you put something on your garage door opener, and the phone app lets you use your garage door opener, and the delivery services can use that. And so they can put stuff directly into your garage. It sounds like a pretty good idea. And unlike an actual garage door opener, it can't be stolen. Have you heard anything about that? Do you have an opinion?
But Virginia, actually, I haven't. Anything like that has a potential. It could be hacked.
Well,
so you always have to keep that in mind. There's new ideas coming to light all the time because we have these problems and people look for ways to solve them. And you can go high tech and new school. There's going to be things like that that come out, or you can go old school and have your neighbor watch the front doorstep for you. You see the package out there. Hey, neighbor, would you bring it in when it arrives? Either direction, looking out for each other. And we keep on looking for ways to stop this just really annoying behavior.
It is annoying.
Yes. And you know what? I'm going to keep my comments short because you do have a packed agenda. You've got my contact information in the notes. Please reach out to me, give a call, even if it's just to say hi.
Thanks. Okay, we're going to move right along to Andrea Watson with Tualatin Valley Water.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I was here a couple months ago, but I also wanted to thank Bruce. I've had a little coffee chat with him, and I'm available to do that with other CPO1 members if you're interested. I'd love to follow up with you. But I also want to share this is Earthquake Preparedness Month. And we are expecting the big one in the region, and relative to the region's age, that's kind of new learning. I think it was discovered in the 80s or 90s. So Bruce had a great question about the Bonnie Slope Reservoir and whether or not that reservoir could be used as a distribution point. They are, as we're replacing the reservoirs, there is a new technology where you can basically put a valve inside of that reservoir and use that as an emergency water distribution. Bonnie Slope does not have that because that was not available when it was installed. And we're pretty far out from replacing Bonnie Slope, but I was able to explain that we still would be able to use the water in there. We could top line out of it. We could open up a hydrant, between that storage and another place in the system that's not damaged. But, just generally, we're just really trying to stick with the really standard message, which is please do your part in preparing your home and your place of business. We recommend that you store 14 gallons of potable water per person extra if you have pets or plants that you need to maintain. And, as was just shared from the sheriff's office, look out for your neighbors. Let's help each other out. Some people have limited resources. They have limited space. There's reasons, maybe they're older and water can become very heavy. So we need to look at lots of different options for storing that minimum amount of emergency water. Could be filtration, it could be bleach or treatment tabs so that you can make water potable. But those of us that have a little extra storage, I know I've stored a little bit extra. We have great videos on our websites, and we participate with the region's water providers. So Regional H2O is their website. There's some great videos on how to address this if you have a small space. And you do need to maintain those stores, rotate it. Water does expire, even bottled water. And if you do your own storage, we have videos on how to prepare the containers. But we will, when we have the big one, we will be on tap first to get our treatment systems back up and running. And it's important for us to understand, in order for you to have water, there has to be power. And so power generation, fuel to make electricity is required to have water. And that's going to be a challenge for the whole region. And so the emergency process will be to prioritize those resources. Once we get treatment up and running again and we have a way to get clean water, then we will focus on getting water restored to the neighborhoods. But it will be many weeks to months before you get it back at your home, depending on how much damage you have. And I know that's a really hard message to hear because we've gone 80 years without any major water disruptions from TVWD, but we have to be realistic. There's going to be significant damage to roads, pipes, all kinds of infrastructure, and it'll be more difficult to get around. And so it will take us some while to get the materials necessary to get the system fully up and running the way it is today.
There's a great group called Cedar Hills Ready.
Yes.
And they're associated with the Quake Up group. And I know I'm not even going to put anything in the chat because I can't remember exactly their website, but if you go find it, they have information on a homemade filtration system.
Yes.
It's more practical than trying to store enough water.
Absolutely. So just, as I said, just get started. The main things, get started, store some, and then start thinking about how to make that more doable for your home. I'm going to put my contact information in here. We're also doing a big project at the Barnes Road Pump Station. That's almost wrapped up now, but that's in your neighborhood. And just to remind you that we have information about those projects on our website. You can sign up to receive regular updates at tvwd.org/projects. And kind of the big thing, I really appreciate your time. So I'm just going to kind of drop the bomb and then I'll be back next month. And if you have questions in between, to call me. But our big construction project, the joint project with the city of Hillsborough and the city of Beaverton, that is ongoing. And we have received some bids recently that have shown that we're seeing some inflationary pressures that are all around the globe for labor and supplies. And so the cost of that program is increasing. And we are going to need to borrow more money to complete the project. We can't push the timeline anywhere because we are on a 10-year buying agreement for water with Portland Water Bureau. We've already notified them in 2016 that we will be off in 2026. So we're married to our timeline. But we just wanted to make sure that there's assistance programs available. There's a lot of them that came out of ARPA related to COVID. We need help getting the word out. We still have a lot of customers struggling to pay their bill. And we are going to be back to talk about these increased costs, as well as right now we're really down in Salem in the special session asking for relief that we didn't anticipate that we would need. But just to make sure we're being transparent, we've had a couple of reports at our board meetings, so you can watch those, but do reach out and I will be back to talk about kind of the strategies of how we're going to try to keep the rates low while we face these increasing costs.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Just for those of you who haven't been following it, the Willamette Water Supply is a huge project to put together a filtration and processing plant on the Willamette and then distribute that water to the Tualatin Valley Water District and other partner water districts in the area, because as this area grows, Hag Lake, the combination of Hag Lake and Bull Run simply isn't going to be enough to serve everybody. That's my understanding, at least. Okay, I didn't see anybody from Beaverton School District here tonight. We featured an article about Don Grotting, the superintendent who's retiring, and our wonderful secretary, Vicki Sia, had an interview with him, and she will be also writing about the bond measure in the next issue. So I don't know if I didn't see any of our BSD people here tonight. So I guess we'll just keep moving. And that would be THPRD. Brian, welcome.
Virginia, thank you very much. My name is Brian Yellowstone. I work at the main HMT complex. I run both the athletic center and the tennis center. I just have a couple updates for everybody this evening. Want to let everybody know that spring registration is coming on Saturday, February 26th. All the activity guides are online for the classes that run March through June. It starts at 8 a.m. Some of the classes are super popular. So if you're interested, I would, get there as early as possible to try and get the class that you're looking for. Second, Spring Native Plant Sale starts this month at the Tualatin Hills Nature Center. You can order online between February 15th and March 15th. And then come April, you can go to the Nature Center to pick up your plants. The selection is from more than 100 species of climate-resistant native plants, and it helps support the nature park. Preschool registration opens this month, for next year. Tualatin Hills offers 9-month preschool throughout the district. Registration is open for families for, again, next school year, and signups are now. So just letting everybody know. Tree hazards, we've been having some tree hazards, and we're asking help as we clean up some of the maintenance issues. If you see something, give us a call at 503-629-6305. I will also put that in the chat, or you can email me. And Tualatin Hills will respond as quickly as possible. And then lastly, in your guys' area, there's a new dog run that is going to be installed at Ridgewood Park. And that'll be done by the end of this calendar year. Planning work is underway, and we're in the design and permitting phase for a new fenced dog run at the park. And again, construction will happen by the end of the year. So I know you guys have a busy agenda. That is all that I had today. If there's any questions, again, I will put my contact information in the chat, and you can contact me directly.
Great, thank you, Brian. Well, we're running actually ahead of schedule, which is always wonderful, which gives us time right now for public comments. I'm hoping that Brandon shows up to talk to us a little bit about the West Union gas station and his organization. So while we wait for that, if any member of the public, oh, there he is. Yay, there's Brandon. Okay, we'll go ahead with public comments in case anybody from our, I'm not going to call it audience, it's our constituents, our members. If anybody has a comment and you would like to make it now, raise your hand. Either, well, we can't see you, so physically raising your hand doesn't help, but you can hit the little raise hand button on the bottom of the screen. I'll give people a minute or two. Not seeing anybody. Well, we'll come back to that. Go ahead. Yeah, Brandon, go ahead and jump on the screen. I'm going to go ahead and share the link to your website, first of all. And just a message about this. A couple of years ago, a proposal was made to site a gas station where the Mad Greek used to be, across from the Albertson store and directly adjacent to a wetland. And it's kind of gone back and forth. The owner withdrew it and came back, and the neighbors didn't like it much. And so it was due to be heard at a Washington County land use hearing. And once again, they asked for an extension. So it's not going to be heard until June or July. And partly just to make sure that people don't forget about it, but also to really get to the root of the problem. Brandon has started a, not exactly a petition, but a letter that people can sign on to, asking for all of us to sign on to a letter to ask the Board of Commissioners to keep this from happening again. I've got it up on my screen, so I'm going to share that. This is their website, and the letter, I guess we have time. Brandon, do you want to read it?
Sure. I mean, I can give the high level. And
We're going to
people
vote
can-
on this. I'm going to ask the members, the CPO1 members to vote. So,
Okay. Great. So the main thrust of the request is that we want Washington County to update their land use codes to require gas stations, currently operating gas stations excluded, to be a minimum of 1,500 feet from essentially any public investment like a park, playground, school, and then important community gathering spaces like hospitals, churches, theaters, public libraries, and then obviously places that would be expensive to clean up. So wetlands, streams, rivers, floodplains, and other environmentally sensitive areas. And so, and we want this to be applied across the entire county without any option for variance. And I think this is really important to make sure that it's objective and equitable, this requirement. And so Virginia gave some great background on why we're making this request. And the letter provides data on why we believe this makes both economic sense, because at the end of the day, if these gas stations go insolvent, it's the taxpayer who has to pay to clean them up. Yamhill, Oregon had a $500,000 cleanup so far, and the groundwater is still contaminated. Monmouth this year or last year in April, 14,000 gallons went in underneath 99W into the groundwater. It affects public resources and public investments. And environmental sense. You just don't want gas. It's hard to clean up. It messes with the wildlife. It messes with environmental investments like THPRD's most popular park, Rock Creek Trail. So yep, that's the letter. And there's a lot of in-depth data from Oregon DQ and others on why we think this makes sense.
yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the spearhead on this effort. It is in CPO7, it's not in CPO1, but I think we all know the intersection, and it's one of my favorite parks to go across the way. There's a lake and some really nice trails and some really wonderful wildlife. You can see there were otters in there, and just imagine a petroleum leak and what it would do to that wonderful environment over there. So I posted the website. You can go on the website to sign up for Brandon's newsletters. He's really gaining a lot of followers and supporters. And so at this time, I'd like to suggest that we vote yes or no for CPO1 to sign on to this letter to the Board of Commissioners, asking them to, we're not telling them exactly how to write the ordinance. We're just telling them that this is what we'd like them to do as responsible leaders to protect our environment and our people and our wildlife and everything. So we will go for raised hands. Again, we can't see the participants. So we need you to raise your hand if you agree that CPO1 should sign on to this letter, and our secretary Vicky will count everybody up and let me know when she's got a count. And the panelists can vote as well, of course. If you're CPO1 members, I'm sorry, Brennan, you can't. If you're CPO1 residents, you can vote. And I'll raise my hand because I definitely think we should do this.
Right,
Okay.
the attendees and 4 panelists.
You get it?
Yep.
Okay. If anyone's opposed, please everybody lower your hands now. If anyone's opposed, now's the time to raise your hand for that. I've got John and no, John, huh? Are you opposed? No.
Looks like 0 opposed.
Okay, I see no opposed. Thank you. And thank you, Brandon, for abandoning your poor children in the middle of their bedtime and coming to the meeting and helping us inform our members.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for the time.
Oh, great. Okay, well, hey, I'll go ahead and put another minute or two for public comment in case anybody has something they thought of that they'd like to share with us. I'm not seeing any hands. So hey, why don't we just go ahead and stay ahead of the agenda? And I'll go ahead and share my screen again for that, just to remind everyone where we're at. Bruce Bartlett has done a little bit of research for us to present some basic information on who has control of garbage and recycling. And it's a shared responsibility between Metro and the county. And I asked him to sort it out and I dare I say, spit it out.
Okay, so we have a fairly stable garbage bill. It doesn't go up or down based on sort of random factors. If you put extra cans out, you get charged more. But anything in the can is a fixed bill. And the county and the cities set the rate that we're charged. And they do that along with the garbage haulers. We have a franchise system, which means that the local governments don't pick up the trash, contracted haulers do. And the reason behind that is to limit the number of trucks going up and down the streets. And garbage trucks are certainly an effective way of waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning. The rates vary in the county based on whether the customer is in the urban unincorporated area or in the rural portion of the county, excuse me. And by creating geographical boundaries, the county ensures that only one company's trucks are in your neighborhood. All the haulers apply the same monthly bill. The majority of the bill goes to the hauler, and the remainder pays for infrastructure upkeep. The factors that influence the amount a customer pays, that's the amount of the standard bill, fall into 5 general categories. The cost of collecting the garbage, the tipping fees, which I'll describe, the franchise fees, the hauler's administrative costs, which includes a substantial amount of insurance, and some profit allowed to the hauler, typically 7 to 11%. The garbage collection runs about half of the customer's monthly bill. The tipping fees are paid when the load is dumped at a transfer station. There it's processed before it's shipped to a landfill. The 2 Portland region transfer stations are operated by Metro, one just over the hill on Highway 30, Metro Central, and one in Oregon City, Metro South. Metro sets the tipping fees by the ton for those stations, and these are about 1/3 of the monthly bill. Metro also establishes what regional fees need to be part of the tipping fee, which includes the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality's fee to regulate garbage collection. The tipping fee, I made some notes here.
Bruce, doesn't Metro have some control over the fees?
Yeah, they set the tipping fee at the transfer station.
Ah,
And so when the load is dumped, the truck is tipped over, and hence tipping is when the load is dumped by the dump truck or by the garbage truck.
got it.
And then in each jurisdiction, whether it's a city or a county, that jurisdiction negotiates with the haulers in that geographical region and sets the rates. So a city would set the haulers rates in the city, and Washington County sets the collection, the garbage monthly bill for the unincorporated area. The garbage haulers have to report quarterly. They have to report, give a yearly report, and based on their finances, then they negotiate what the monthly bill will be. That pretty much is the gist of how this works. And so you can imagine that when the haulers get together with the county, there's some pretty serious negotiations that go on. You know, and they have to buy, and they have to maintain and buy new trucks. And if they expand service, they have to have a way of paying for that. I think that pretty much, you know, there's franchise fees that they pay that cover the cost of maintaining the roads, sidewalks, and other infrastructure that the hauler uses while operating. And most utilities pay a franchise fee of some kind. So that is that. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to either give an answer or make up one.
I think that gives us a good broad overview of who controls what. And that was part of my goal to, and yeah, it does. The question is, does this include recycling? And the hauler fee covers the cost to recycle, I believe.
Yeah, it does. It does. And it also covers the cost of composting, which right now in Washington County only includes yard waste.
Right.
Portland has, they put, our Portland residents are allowed to put household food waste in their yard waste recycling, and it's all taken to North Plains to be ground up and run through Nature's Needs, the Recology, amazing compost process out there. But we don't have residential household garbage, so we can get neighbor, you know, you can get your little yard bin, composting bin, and
I
go to
think the usual argument against that in Washington County, and I don't know why it doesn't apply to Portland as well, is that it would be difficult to do that with apartment buildings. But I mean, Portland has as many apartment buildings as we do. So
well, as I understand the issue,
something else we could look into another night. Right now, we're focusing on, I think, mostly hard to recycle items, plastics, and so forth. So I have a little bit of a recap of the events that have led up to today. And I covered a good deal of it in the article I published in the January issue of Cedar Mill News. There we go. I covered some of it in the January issue of Cedar Mill News, and I just posted the link to that. No, that's right. We don't have, well, we can recycle our yard waste, but we can't recycle our food, right? And we will look at all this in the future. I mean, everybody produces waste. And that's what we're going to look at a little bit more with our panelists that are coming on in a little while, is reducing and reusing and limiting waste before it has to deal with recycling. So anyway, I'm going to share my screen because I came up with a little bit of a outline of what happened, but most of it is in the article that I referred to. I'm not sure exactly when Ridwell entered the Washington County market. I think Caleb is going to tell us that. In February of 2021, one of the haulers reported them to the Washington County Solid Waste and Recycling. And the investigation began. In April of 2021, the hauler sent a letter to the Board of County Commissioners proposing to offer a similar service. In June of 21, the Garbage and Recycling Advisory Committee was asked to investigate and possibly approve an exemption to allow Ridwell to continue operating. And they met over that summer and got lots of input. And in September of 21, they denied the exemption. And that has proved to be pretty controversial. And we do have a member of that committee who is completely not allowed to speak as a member of that committee, but simply as a citizen. And I'm going to introduce her in a minute to let her say a few words about her view of what's been happening. But because I'll just keep going with this. In December, the Solid Waste and Recycling sent out a community survey, and I'm going to share one of those screens in a minute. And then in January 22, Ridwell was told by the county to stop offering their service. At that time, they filed a lawsuit, which meant that the agenda that we've been preparing with our county commissioner and the head of garbage and recycling and several other people just got shut down. The county attorney advised everybody not to come to the meeting and not to speak on it. In fact, we had one of the members of the Walker family, who Walker Garbage serves all of us, and she was going to come to the meeting, but they've all been told not to speak. Just yesterday, Sandra was able to get approval from the committee to attend the meeting tonight, but I want everyone to know, and she wants everyone to know, she is not speaking for the committee. And then in the January 10th regular meeting of the GRAC was canceled because Solid Waste was going to make a presentation to the Board of County Commissioners, which they did on January 25th. And the board voted to create a temporary exemption to allow Ridwell to operate while the solid waste folks figured out their presentation. I'm going to briefly share a different screen. Whoops, that's not the one. There we go. And this is the minutes of that meeting where, and I thought this was interesting. Chair Harrington announced she'll support the action tonight for the temporary rules in order to pursue the longer term options presented in the staff report. She wants to make sure there's a bridge for continued service in the meantime. She clarified that this action allows Ridwell to have a seat at the table and for a guarantee that the material gets recycled and not just collected, and it does not apply to the city. So it's like, it's like a crime drama or something. We have breaking news practically every week on this issue. It's the Board of County Commissioners heard from in a huge way. And I do find it all kind of interesting because as I ended up my article in the news, recycling is wonderful, but compared to some other challenges we have with climate change, it's sort of a drop in the bucket. But we're going to hear from someone in the DEQ about a new state law that's actually going to put the issue back that belongs with the producers. So we're going to hear about that in a couple minutes. But right now, I'd like to introduce Sandra Bush-Smith, who's a member of GRAC, but forget you know that. She's just going to speak as a private citizen. Go ahead, Sandra. Don't forget to unmute yourself.
Well, I was going to introduce myself as a public member of the Garbage and Recycling Committee for unincorporated Washington County. I've been on GRAC for 2.5 years, maybe 3 years, but I also live in unincorporated Washington County, and I'm one of your neighbors. Virginia's right. I'm not representing GRAC tonight. I'm just representing myself as a neighbor and an individual. I'm not sure what to really talk about other than I wanted to get the word out that even though my committee voted against the exemption, it wasn't unanimous. There were 2 of us that voted for the exemption. I was one of them. I don't know if that's been widely known or not, and I kind of am disappointed at the situation that not enough facts have been presented out there, that it wasn't a cut and when we met, we had a lot of meetings. It wasn't a cut and dry thing. We had a lot of discussions. When this first thing all came about with Ridwell, I knew very little about them. I knew that they operated in Portland, but that was about it. So I started researching. I checked their website. It looked like a great company. They seemed pretty transparent. We had a public hearing for our committee. I believe it was in June or July. I posted on Nextdoor. I wanted to hear what the public thought. I go, I'll see what everybody has to say. And at our meeting, every single person that spoke said that they love Ridwell, they loved the concept, and they wanted it. And that solidified my decision on voting for the exemption. When we did this summer, we did a lot of research. I was on the subcommittee. I read the entire Metro thing. There's the Oregon Waste Plan or something. I forgot what it's called. So I read all of that. I couldn't find any reason why we should ban them. It just seemed like the haulers just wanted to have a monopoly in our county, and there's pretty much it's them against Ridwell. It seems like if we had voted in the beginning to allow Ridwell the exemption, then the haulers could have had their program going. Everything could have been running by now. Everybody could be collecting hard to recycle items, but no, everybody wants to fight it. And now, even though Ridwell's allowed to operate temporarily, I'm not sure if the board of commissioners are going to allow them to continue once this whole plan is implemented and the haulers start collecting. So I'm glad that everybody spoke out about it, and I loved that whole email writing campaign. It was nice to see the public needs to be heard, and I hear you.
Absolutely. There's been so much interest on this. I kind of got wind of it on social media when people were worried about losing their Ridwell service. I mean, first of all, it was, oh, we love Ridwell, and then suddenly they were losing it. And I was able to present, I hope, a balanced view in that article. I think now we're gonna, Sandra, first of all, I want to thank you for your service on the committee, and also
Virginia, could we have Sandra?
Bruce, 1 second, that this is an example of the value of citizens serving on these advisory committees, that it isn't always a walk in the park. It can get really hairy, but it makes a big difference to how things come out. Yeah, Bruce, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But that's okay. I was in the same vein. Sandra, could you give us just a little thumbnail of what the Garbage and Recycling Advisory Committee is and what it does?
Yeah, thank you.
We're a 9-member group. We used to be 8 members, and it was 5 public members and 3 industry members. And they revamped that, or I believe it was March of this year, to make only 1 member an industry member and 8 public members. Unfortunately, we had a situation where there were 3 open positions. 2 of them were expired and 1 was never filled until after this vote, which made me disappointed too and very frustrated. To be honest, we vote on the rate increases every year. We do education. There hasn't been that much that we've really voted on until this Ridwell thing came out. It was mostly small things like a hauler retiring and a new one taking their place, and we're voting for that, or to see it. They have to go in great detail on why they need a rate increase and not, and we vote for that. And it hasn't been that much else until Ridwell came up.
So the Garbage and Recycling Advisory Committee is one of over 30 advisory councils that Washington County offers people to be involved in. And you can find out more about them on the county's website under community participation. So thanks a lot for your service.
And actually, everything we
commissioner.
vote on is for unincorporated Washington County. The
Right.
cities all have their own committees. It's
Right.
complicated.
No commissioner can know everything. And so they rely on these advisory councils and commissions to study the issues in detail and then report back to the Board of Commissioners. That's the general principle. Service on these commissions is super important. And I definitely want to thank you. Well,
And this
we're
Ridwell
staying
vote,
on schedule. Go ahead.
this Ridwell vote, I thought, as an advisory committee, I thought that our vote would then go to the Board of Commissioners and they would discuss it and have the final vote. But apparently that wasn't the case. And I'm not exactly sure why our vote stood amongst, why the board didn't take that on. I thought maybe we were thrown under the bus. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my own opinion. I don't know what the whole thing is with that. But now they're involved, thanks to the public.
They definitely are. Well, we're doing pretty good with our very busy schedule tonight. And so it's time to introduce Caleb Weaver. He is a public relations and communications person for Ridwell. I believe you're up in Seattle, right?
That's correct. Yeah, Ridwell, we're a Seattle-based company. We do have a team on the ground in the Portland area. But for events like this, particularly while they're virtual, y'all are stuck with me. So Virginia, I'm happy to jump in. I really appreciate the invitation to present sort of a quick high level on sort of who Ridwell is, because unfortunately there has been a decent degree of confusion about who we are, what we do, what we don't do. And so my hope is to spend a couple of minutes just quickly walking through what it is Ridwell actually does, and then jump into sort of the situation that exists with Washington County and where we're hoping that things will go. Before I get started though, I would also just really thank Sandra for her engagement and thoughtful participation on the GRAC for the last, again, since the Ridwell issues came up, and for the other public members who really are trying to do the right thing for their friends and neighbors in unincorporated Washington County. And then lastly, you're all exactly right. We're in an interesting spot where our service is something that the public has really embraced, and the elected officials are literally refusing to take our phone calls or have meetings with us. And so to the extent that they are responding, it is because they are responding to the many people who are residents and constituents of those elected officials who are jumping in and speaking up. And so just can't thank people enough for engaging in civic policy making like they are. So with that, let me try and share my screen and do a quick just set the base. All right.
When did Ridwell start offering service in Washington County?
So we started operating in Washington County in very early, it was in January 2021, so about a year ago. And initially, quite frankly, it was sort of spillover from the Portland area because we were launching areas by zip code, and there's a number of zip codes that straddle jurisdictions. And so when we were launching parts of Portland, there was parts of the unincorporated areas of Washington County that also got service turned on and had such a good response that we expanded. So with that, let me just go ahead and jump in. And again, I will try and keep this very short, since I know this is a very an audience that's very up to speed, but it's really helpful to avoid some of the confusion. So with that, what is Ridwell? We are a service that helps households reduce waste. And I describe us by starting with our story because it really does capture sort of where we come from and what we're trying to do. And so we really truly emerged from our founder's garage. He was doing a project with his son where they were trying to throw away less stuff. So they were looking around their house for things that could be reused or recycled, and then trying to find places around the Seattle area where they could go drop that stuff off. And they didn't want to drive with an empty car. So they just asked their neighbors, like, hey, do you have any batteries? Do you have any light bulbs? Do you have any plastic film that you all don't want to put in the trash? Because we're going to a drop-off location. We're happy to take it for you. And they got such a great response from their neighbors. They then posted on Nextdoor a couple of weeks later when they were going to go, and they got such an incredible response from the Nextdoor community nearby that they couldn't actually meet the demand, and so they created a list, and it became known as Owen's List. And that's our founder's then 6-year-old son, and it kind of grew and grew until the point where he sort of thought, you know what, people want to do more. They want to not put stuff in the garbage, but either because they don't have time or they don't know what to do, they're not taking advantage of the drop-off opportunities.
Recording stopped.
Or the reuse opportunities that might exist in their community. And they would appreciate a service that helps them do that, just making it easy. And so that's what Ridwell is. We are that service. And so we are a membership-based organization, right? You join up as a member. Ridwell provides a steel bin that goes by your doorstep or the side of your house, along with a collection of reusable canvas bags. Members then put the stuff in those bags. Those bags are labeled. Each one has a description of the categories that we take. I'll get to that more in a second. Fill up those bags, put them in the bin, and then opt into the pickup. So it's a pretty simple process. We offer pickups every other week. Memberships, they cost typically between $12 and $16 a month, depending on the length of the commitment. We offer scholarship programs for people for whom cost is a burden. Anybody can sign up, including in the areas that we serve, including folks that live in apartment buildings or multifamily. I'd be happy to talk more about that. It can be more of a challenge sometimes if we have access issues, but it is available to everybody in an area. And the benefits, you get an opportunity for the bi-weekly pickup, access to our robust help at Ridwell. So people write in all the time. They're like, hey, see these eyeglasses. Are you all still taking those? If not, what can I do? And if the answer is no, we don't have an eyeglass featured category coming up, but the Lions Club is doing a collection, or so-and-so is doing a collection. And so we try to help people avoid putting things into the landfill if there's a reuse or recycle opportunity, even if it has nothing to do with us. We try to come up with new categories. We try to look for new opportunities. Sometimes they're a one-off. Sometimes they're things that we can add on an ongoing basis, like plastic clamshells in the Portland area. And I'll come back to that in a second. And we provide an online dashboard that gives the next sort of series of things that are going to be picked up so people can plan. So this one is really important. You'll hear me reference this a couple of times. What do we focus on? Our categories. If it can go in your curbside recycle bin, the commingled recycle bin, we don't want to have anything to do with it. We are in no way competing with the recycling service or any of the services provided by the franchise garbage haulers. There is no reason for somebody to use our service for items that the garbage haulers are taking in their commingled bins. However, as you can see, there are a number of things that people are directed not to take, not to put into their commingled recycle bin. And there's really good reasons for it. And again, this is an area where we're not blaming anybody for not taking certain things. Plastic film, it jams up the sorting machines at the recovery facilities. It causes huge problems. It also gets very easily contaminated. So if it's wet and gets moldy, it is virtually impossible to recycle. So there's lots of good reasons why these materials can't go from a very practical perspective. Often there's our markets that are underdeveloped or unstable. So it becomes very hard for a long-term monopoly contract to manage something like that. Again, there's reasons for that. But what we are doing is we are offering an opportunity by providing this sort of specialized service to collect these items and help these items get reused or recycled. So what are the categories, right? So we focus on reuse wherever we possibly can. So here's some of the examples: tools, jeans, corks, books, right? Kitchenware. We also do hard to recycle. Now, these are the ones that get a lot of attention, but they're not the only thing that we do. We actually really focus on reuse because, Virginia, you kind of referenced this a minute ago, but if we can reuse more, that's a win. That's what we want to do. So light bulbs, plastic film, batteries. We try and stay local. We use local partners wherever we can. Sometimes we can't find local partners. And so then we have to use regional partners. So for instance, Trex, which turns plastic film into decking, they're down in Nevada. Here are some of the organizations that I mentioned. We really try and meet these local organizations' needs. The reuse is a huge part of what we do. Pickups, again, we offer bi-weekly. There's that core group, plastic film, light bulb, batteries, and threads. We have a rotating featured category, which is usually something that goes to one of those local organizations. And then we'll have add-ons like styrofoam and paint in some areas that people can for additional fee. And again, we get those to a place that can reuse or recycle. You'll see here, we try to be super efficient. We redo our routing every single night because we only go to houses where our members say they have something for us to pick up. We're not using big garbage trucks. We're using just vans. Quite frankly, they're similar to or smaller than the Amazon delivery vans. And we are only going through every neighborhood once every 2 weeks, right? We're not doing it all the time. It's an infrequent thing. We track everything using technology. These are our warehouses. We're not doing any sorting because it's already sorted by the household. So literally all we're doing is gathering it up and then packaging it up for delivery. So it's just a very different business than the garbage haulers where they're collecting a bunch of stuff, sorting it out, and then usually selling or monetizing the things that they can. Our service, it's the fee that covers the service, the membership fee. We're not making money on the materials that we're collecting. We are completely transparent on where everything goes. So this is a screenshot from our webpage. For every single market, we list all of our partners for the items and then how much contamination we're getting, stuff that can't be recycled. We think people need to know, people need to know where things are going and how much of it they're putting into our bags that our partners can't actually take. And it's really leaning into that education and trust. I won't go into detail. There's a lot here. I'll maybe cover this in some of the questions, but we are 100% committed to regulatory compliance. We're not out there saying don't regulate us. We welcome regulation. We welcome appropriate oversight. Our challenge is just that, unfortunately, in a number of Oregon communities, the rules weren't written with a service like ours in mind. And so how do we fit in? And we have proposed new regulations. We proposed new ideas on how to do this. And we see it as just we're working through this challenge right now. We think we'll come out on the other side, particularly given all the positive support that our service has gotten from the community, that we're going to end up in an okay place if people stay engaged. But it's sometimes a challenge to work through these things, but we believe there's tremendous benefits for everybody involved. We're helping 45 is actually a little bit old. I think we're over 50 different communities around the country right now. We just recently launched in Minneapolis and Denver, added to, Minneapolis and Austin, adding to Denver, Portland and Seattle, where the markets where we work. A lot of officials get it, welcome us into the communities. So to the extent that there are challenges in Oregon, that's not the response that we're seeing everywhere. So the last thing, I just wanted to address the policy proposal that has been discussed to give garbage haulers a monopoly over not only the service, the standard service that they provide, but this optional service similar to what we provide for hard to recycle items, which is something that has been discussed and put on the table both at the GRAC meeting back in December and then for the county commissioners last month. And we believe that this is the wrong path. And obviously, like, it's bad for us because it would functionally ban Ridwell again if this is the path that they go down. We see a number of problems here. It's inefficient. All 9 of the haulers would have to develop their own programs to provide this service. And they would only be providing for their territory. It doesn't really make any sense. There's no reusables component. That is a huge part of what we do. Even though it's not part of our every week pickup, those reusables are critical for helping people change their mindset, start thinking about reuse as the primary way to reduce waste. And that part is entirely getting lost and will be no longer possible under the hauler's proposal. The haulers doing their service would cost more for the 2 pickups, like considerably more, almost double what a Ridwell subscription costs, even on a month-to-month basis. And then I think from a long-term perspective, we need innovation in this space. Ridwell is not claiming that we are the only ones that are coming up with ways to help households, to help businesses in the future, or some other company, we only do households, not commercial, help reduce waste. We need new ideas here. We shouldn't be limiting this service in this entire space to large companies with monopoly contracts who have no incentive to innovate and come up with new ideas and add new categories. And then lastly, there's no reason for exclusivity. We understand the logic, we support the logic of these franchise contracts and these franchise agreements for this standard service that is being provided to everybody. It makes sense to make that consistent and provided across the board. But for an optional service that is dealing with, by the county's calculations, maybe a couple % of the overall waste in the county, that there's just, there's no rationale. The reasons for having those exclusive contracts just don't make sense in this space where you want the innovation, you want new ideas coming in to help us solve this problem. So there's a simple alternative solution, a permit. They can permit this. It can solve all of the county's goals, ensure that there's appropriate oversight, ensure that there aren't too many people running around doing things, ensure that the materials that are being collected are going to the right place, ensuring that appropriate fees to cover county staff time are covered. All of that can be done with a permit. You don't need to give the garbage haulers an exclusive agreement to do that. So that is our perspective. And again, I'd be happy to talk about sort of why we are very much encouraging folks to speak out, speak to their county commissioners, encourage them to go a different route, not to give the garbage haulers more exclusivity, a bigger monopoly, but instead like really encourage sort of innovation in this space. So people love us. I don't need to tell you all this. The outpouring of support has been tremendous, and we can't thank folks enough. So again, we started with Owen. Our goal is to do our part. We are one very small part of a much bigger problem, as Virginia said. But again, it's about that mindset and what we can do to help push things in the right direction. So
thank you, Caleb.
Yes.
Yeah, I wish we had more time. We will come back to this another day. Do you want to post your contact information in the chat box?
Sure,
and
I'll be
then
happy to do that.
We have a person from DEQ hopefully joining us, but we don't know who it is. So if you are the DEQ person and you're still in the attendees box, please raise your hand and we'll promote you to being a panelist.
While we're doing that, Caleb, do you work on any of the Fix-It fairs?
So I believe the team has gone out to a couple of those, but I'm not familiar with specifically what we've done. But okay, we do try and do community drop-offs and opportunities to support those efforts as well, since we know some people don't want to pay for the membership fee or are perfectly comfortable doing a drop-off. And again, there are a number of drop-off opportunities, and they don't necessarily need our service to, if folks want to do a drop-off. And we encourage people to make use of those, but we do try to participate wherever we can be helpful.
Well, this is a bit of a dilemma. I don't know that we ever had Bruce was the one who connected with the DEQ person, and I didn't have an email for them, so I didn't remind them about the meeting. So it may be possible that we don't have them. Robin, hi.
Hi.
Well, I would like to say a brief word about the state law. I think Bruce knows more about it than I do. We wrote about it a while ago, but Robin, I'm going to call on you in a minute. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
So, Bruce, do you have any information on that law?
I believe it was House Bill 2056, and they actually we had Washington County sustainability guy who didn't come today. Anyway, The idea behind the law is that there would be and this is agreed to by the industry because they see the necessity coming, and a manufacturer would be taxed on the amount of unrecyclable material in their packaging. So in order to reduce this tax, you use recyclable packaging. And the intention is to reduce sort of gratuitous use of plastic. It's kind of really to address plastic pollution by taking it at the source, which is companies who use plastic in their product packaging. And that's kind of, I was looking forward to the DEQ. I don't really have a good,
Me too.
I don't have a good defense as to what happened to the DEQ person. I suppose I could have my pay docked.
Yeah, I think, I'm on the DEQ page. Let's see. Implementation of Oregon's evolution, local governments, weak, materials management, crap, excuse my language. Well, we'll circle back to that, and we'll present on that as part of the March meeting, because it is really important, and it's a very important part of this discussion, because reducing should be the #1 R in the 4 R's. It's reduce, reuse, recycle, and refuse. Dang, it doesn't always work right. HB 2065. Thank you, Jessica. Well, we'll circle back to that later, because we're getting off schedule. And maybe some of if any of the folks who are going to be part of our panel know a little bit more about this than we do. We know it's there and we know it's good, but we can't describe the details. So let's go ahead and move to our panel, and we're going to start off with the master recyclers, and that is Robin.
Can I turn myself on now?
Yes, please.
I can't. No, you stopped me, so I can't turn myself on. Sorry.
Oh, you've become an attendee or something. What's going on here? Yeah. Where's Marcus when we need him? There we go. Here you go.
Okay, start my video. Okay, let's see if it works. There we go. Okay, and then I did make a little PowerPoint, so I'll just.
Yeah, I didn't introduce you properly, so go ahead and introduce yourself.
That's all right. That's okay. Let's see if this did this work. Yep. Okay. So Bruce had gone to the master recyclers and asked for a speaker, and unfortunately, since I've lived in CPO1 for 22 years, you got me. And so I agreed to talk briefly about the master recycler program, but since I also tend to sort frequently for plastics collection events, I wanted to quickly review what actually goes in curbside, because I still see so much confusion at every single event, and I just want to clarify a couple of things. So
would you do us a favor and click on the slideshow thing so we don't have to look at all your desktop furniture?
Here we go.
Yay.
Yay. Okay. And
Thank
let me do this. Okay, and I'm bravely putting my email address out there. And yes, you can shoot me emails. I'm old enough to have a Yahoo address, and you can shoot me emails if you have any recycling questions. I do that all the time. So the Master Recycler program is basically about training volunteer educators. We spend about 24 hours in class. We spend about 6 hours on field trips. Topics include a wide range of things in sort of the recycling sphere. Virginia, I'm going to tweak your comment a little bit. So the 3 R's were actually prefixed by the word refuse and suffixed by the word rot when B. Johnson sort of created the zero waste movement. And so a lot of us are zero wasters, and I will be the first to tell you that I can refuse like nobody's business. But what I will say mostly about the Master Recycler program, for me personally, is it informs the way I purchase. I literally My shopping and my purchases are guided by the packaging. And if you see a crazy person trying to find a recycling number on an item in the store, it's probably me, because we're seeing more and more number sevens. But anyway, so what you find within the master recycler community is we've all got very varied and unique interests. So Bruce, to your point, the master recyclers are heavily involved in the Fix-It fairs. I volunteered at a number of those, usually at the front desk, not actually fixing anything, but those haven't gone live since the pandemic, but those were very successful when we had them. So again, just some of the topics we look at. And so as I warned, I did want to pivot to what's curbside. And so as you might have figured out, I don't like reading to people when I'm presenting. So I'll just say that anytime you're recycling, please make sure that your items are clean. Please make sure they're rinsed and shake off the excess water. The number of plastic events I've sorted at, and I've taken a shower because people have literally just come from washing them out. And then when you're looking at containers, and we'll get to plastics in just a minute, but take your caps off. And metal caps can go commingled, but you don't want them attached to a plastic bottle, for example, because that'll go off in the wrong place. What a lot of the master recyclers do is we all keep a tin can with an attached lid. So, you know, when you open it with your can opener, don't take it completely off. We keep it beside our sink and we throw all these metal bits into it. Why? Because when they go through the sorter and they get separated, if they're too lightweight, they can go flying off into Never Never Land, get mixed in with other things. So most of us keep a tin can that we load up and then we crimp it at the top, get the lid back in, crimp it, and throw it in your commingled recycling. So let's look really quickly at, please tell me, okay, so I better stop clicking, sorry. So what goes curbside? So this is pretty good. The only exception I'd point out to you here is you see that can of Pam spray, you want to pull out that little plastic nub, but otherwise aerosol can go curbside. Most of us also put our aluminum foil bits in a can that we crimp as well too, because sometimes that can be too lightweight. The plastics in this example, in the middle, you see they all have a neck. So plastics are sorted by, plastics curbside are recycled according to size and shape. Does it have a neck or is it a tub? And is it over 6 ounces? And don't be fooled by those yogurt containers that have 5.3 ounces on the front. Do the water test. If you put the water in them, you'll find out the 5.3 containers hold more water than the containers marked 6 ounces. So never trust labeling. That's my message. Most of you recognize the Tetra Packs here, the milk cartons, obviously paper, stuff like that. This down below is, you know, it's trash. You never put paper towels in there. You don't put coffee cups that have been used. And we can address that. The most common question I get is, why can you put a milk carton in there, but not a coffee cup? And the simplistic answer is that the haulers have all accepted minimum levels of plastic within packaging. And so the milk cartons meet it. There's too much plastic in the coffee cups. There's too much plastic in the freezer boxes. So if you're having a TV dinner, take that paper box and put it in the trash. It has too much plastic to go curbside. Let's see here. Glass is usually pretty straightforward. If any of you ever used to go to the Far West recycling places at Denny Road where you had to sort colors, you don't have to do that anymore. The key question you want to ask yourself is this glass food grade? So for example, if you've got a nice blue glass moisturizer container sitting on your kitchen counter or bathroom counter like I do, you're wondering, can that go curbside when I empty it? Yes, because cosmetics are considered food grade glass. So that's your driving thought there. And then what's garbage? Everything you see here is garbage. And since we do have the compostable plastics up in the side, and then, sorry, need to stop fiddling with that. And since there were some comments earlier about composting in yard waste, I just briefly want to address that with what little I do know. The key reason that we in Washington County, unincorporated Washington County, cannot put these items in our yard waste is due to capacity. There is insufficient capacity in the state of Oregon to handle anything beyond what's being handled right now. Currently, the cities of Forest Grove, Hillsborough, and Beaverton are accepting those items in yard waste composting. But my understanding is that it's a complete limit based on capacity. I think that's all I wanted to say. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
I just noted that your comments were related to what is considered proper recycling by the haulers and the existing system, and not what Ridwell's picking up. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, and that's why I started off by saying there's a lot of confusion about what can go curbside.
Right.
I see it all the time. And the most common bit of confusion I get when I'm recycling and sorting plastics at collection events is your yogurt tubs, your butter tubs, your margarine tubs, your round tubs. And here's your trick question. If your tub is round and over 6 ounces, it can go curbside. If it is square, it cannot. And that has to do with plastic density and the fact that the plastics behave differently when they're compressed in that form.
Someone asked if you could review what you said about the takeout containers.
So the takeout containers, are we talking, I don't know if we're speaking here to the clamshelly type things or to the rigid plastics. If it's rigid plastics and it's a tub, the tub itself, again, if it's over 6 ounces, that can go curbside. The lid cannot. If it's the closing clamshell style hinged things, those can't go curbside at all. What I will tell you is we take loads of them at collection events. So the folding takeout things are generally 5s, and they're highly recyclable as long as they're clean. So at a collection event only.
All right. That's great. Thank you.
That goes for the when you buy greens in a supermarket, you get them in these plastic containers, which I'm sure are not recyclable, correct?
Those are recyclable at your friendly grocery store, or you can take it to a collection event. That's called stretchy plastic or film. Yeah.
But it is
that's interesting.
Not curbside.
No,
not curbside, but I keep a bag in my garage and I go to, it's at the front door at the Fred's on 217. So it's right there at the drive-thru.
Are you going to give us a little description of the Master Recycler program?
Yeah. I had a single slide in there. That was my first slide. So basically, yeah. And so basically it's by county. Washington County has historically been in the fall, Multnomah in the winter, Clackamas in the spring. And it's the slots, they do 30 slots per class. It's pretty sought after. You get points for living in the county that's holding the class and working in the county that's holding the class. And then to be certified, you give back 30 hours. So for example, the fall class I completed mid-October 2018, and I was certified by the beginning of February. I passed 100 hours last year, and so now they've got me mentoring people and stuff like that. So
great. Well, here's what we're going to do.
To answer Catherine's question, no clamshells in trash. I wouldn't put the clamshells in the trash. They can either go to Ridwell, or you want to be careful and look at the number, because we're seeing some 6s. If there's 6s, they can go to Agilix. But if it's a 1 and it's clear, you can either save it for Ridwell or you can take it to a collection event.
Right. So we're going to go ahead and continue with some presentations, and then we should have time after that for a panel Q&A. And we'll have all of our presenters there so that all of you guys can throw all these wonderful questions at them. So our next presenter is Jessica Zahn, and we will ask her to unmute and start her video.
Hi, Virginia. Can you hear me and see me all right?
I can. Okay. There you are. Hi. Great. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much. And
I'll introduce you a tiny bit, because this is Waste-Free Advocates, which is what recycling advocates grew into.
Correct.
used to work with the Recycling Advocates founders many, many years ago, and I produced their newsletter and stuff. So I've been in this game for a while, and I've been watching the changes. And so I'm really glad to see that rather than being recycling advocates, you are waste-free advocates. I love that. I'm looking forward to your website.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much. We were really honored to be invited to be here, and want to give a shout out to Robin and the Master Recycler program. I'm a graduate myself, class 43. Many years ago. I think many of us involved in Waste Free Advocates are also master recyclers as well. So there's definitely a strong connection. My name, as Virginia said, my name is Jessica Zahn. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the board secretary for Waste Free Advocates. And we've been around for a little while. We started back in 1987. At the time, it was a grassroots citizen-based organization that was really focused on getting bottle bill passed. And that was the initial thing that folks really wanted to rally around. And so recycling has had a long history for this organization. And in time, that's really evolved. And last year we rescoped our mission and our direction a little bit to say, recycling is really important, but we know it's not the only thing. And, as you can hear from the conversation we've had tonight, while recycling is key, we've talked about composting, right? We've talked about waste reduction. There's lots of things, and that all comes together in this zero waste environment. And that was kind of what brought us together to say, well, we want to still acknowledge the advocacy piece. That is still what we're all about as an organization, but really it's the zero waste effort that we're looking towards. We continue to be volunteer-led, even as originally, 35 years ago. We have an elected volunteer board of directors, and we make up, at varying times, solid waste professionals, policy advocates, local business people, and just general zero waste enthusiasts and people who are really passionate about this work. And we are a 501c3 nonprofit and a member of Earth Share of Oregon. We did hire at the end of last year, our first, or not very first, but first in a very long time, a part-time resource director. So we're excited to have that person as part of our organization as well. Our mission is to empower and connect Oregon communities to minimize overconsumption and waste. I think I've heard a lot of themes. It's been really nice tonight to hear the things that the Washington County folks are so passionate about. And this is something passion that we share as well. And that's all in support of our vision for ultimately a waste-free Oregon, where we have a thriving circular economy and access to zero waste resources and education for all. And that shouldn't just mean being in the metro area or within Multnomah County, right? No matter where you are across the state, you should be able to have access to that. And so those are the things that we're seeking towards and working towards. As a volunteer team, this is in our current strategic plan, we have 4 large focus areas. We want to be ambassadors for zero waste. How are we supporting others in achieving their goals? So sometimes, we may have organizations reach out to us like yourselves and say, hey, we're working towards something, and it's, we want to be the brains and sometimes the muscle to help move those things forward. We're also engaging new communities and voices. How are we including people and voices and perspectives that are not sometimes left out of the conversation. I think zero waste has a little bit of a, in one hand, it has a reputation as being like a, crunchy granola kind of thing. And then there's also a little bit more lean towards a more privileged perspective. And that it's only for people of certain means who have the time and the energy to put into it. And we don't think that's the way it should be, that zero waste should be, accessible to everyone. And whether you're in an urban environment or a rural community, that should be equally accessible across Oregon. We're also pretty focused on statewide composting is the thing that we want to take on in the next, 2 years. I'm really glad to hear you all focused in that. In Virginia, I'd love to see how, we can be a supporting voice in that, because we've got made some great progress in the state of Oregon, but there's a lot of ways to go there. If you're even in Portland area, multifamily housing is really lacking in that space. Everyone should be able to easily compost in the state of Oregon. And finally, we're also focused on growing our capacity and influence as an organization. Our campaigns for this year are tie back. We kind of weave across all of those, but we have these 5 areas that we have campaigns, and you can learn a little more about these on our website. But we're Jedi, that's where we talk about justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. We're really wanting to bring that into all of our work, and especially as we collaborate with other organizations. That touches on a little bit of mentioned earlier, but making sure that there's all the right voices are at the table, and how are we including those folks. We're partnering right now. I'll give an example. With a couple organizations who are looking into some Metro grants, and and that's something that we're all bringing up. How are we making sure that we're engaging East Portland in the conversation where there's not access to the same level of resources. The zero waste policy advocacy, this is really like bread and butter for waste-free advocates. How are we providing input or support and lending our voices to city, county, and regional or statewide advisory committees? We're advocates for the Recycling Modernization Act. Last year, it keeps kind of falling on by the wayside, but something that is pretty big is the electronics recycling and right to repair movement. If that's not something that is on y'all's radar, I think it's pretty interesting in terms of planned obsolescence of our devices that we're all holding up, and there's been some good movement in Europe and then in other parts of the United States to move that forward, and so we continue to advocate for that space as well. In the composting space, multifamily is definitely something that we want to be focused on. And in the metro area, if you are not in if you're in an apartment situation or anything more than 4 units, even in Portland, you don't have access to composting. And whether you choose to live in an apartment or you do based on circumstances, that shouldn't be a limiting factor to your access to composting. So we're definitely exploring work in that space as well. Zero waste collaboration. In the last 6 months, we've been focusing on really highlighting other organizations and individuals who are working in this space. We have a great video series. I have a link here and I can drop it in the comments in a little bit, but to our YouTube channel where we've got videos with a variety of different folks. Okapi, we're working with GoBox, and we've even got some folks from San Francisco talking about their waste management policies as well. So really interesting stuff. And then finally, something that's been longstanding for us is the BYO. It used to be the BYO Cup campaign specifically, but we're saying, when we talk about getting rid of those disposable items in our lives, how are we making BYO part of your daily life? Do you have the water bottle? Do you have I have a little bamboo pouch of silverware in my, I carry around with me in my bag. How are we incorporating those things into our daily lives? And I think that's a really small but meaningful thing that we can all do and kind of take forward. We're also really hopeful that as COVID begins to subside, we'll see a little bit more loosening around people bringing their own containers for takeout and, coffee and things like that. Cause that became a little bit of an issue for a little while. And as we get back to a safer place, we want to see that and get a little better space there as well. So if you are interested in getting involved, we have a newsletter you're welcome to sign up for. There's a link as well. I can share. Virginia, do you share these slides out? By the way?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you share these, or do you share slides out? Do you send them around?
We certainly can.
Okay.
We will post them on our Facebook page. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Okay.
if you
Great.
want to just email that to me, the same email that you got my stuff from. And
great. I was saying I've got links here, and I didn't know if anyone would actually be able to get to them.
If you want to go ahead and put your email into the chat box, that folks can, and we also share the important parts of our chat on our Facebook page as well. Vicki collects them and then edits them, and we put them up. So we're all about sharing here. Thank you so much, Jessica. This was super interesting. I had no idea what you guys are up to. It sounds like you're focusing more on high-level advocacy and trying to influence policy, which is, that's what recycling advocates did at the beginning with the bottle bill. So it's very cool. It's wonderful to support people in their homes and their efforts to recycle, but changing the way things work is really where it's at.
It is. And I think something we've noticed, Virginia, is that there are so many organizations doing really good work here. We want to be the kind of organization that's bringing people together around that and helping to support and bolster those voices, that we don't need to be making up new things ourselves. There's great work already happening, and we want to be the advocates to push that forward and bring people together for change.
Super. Thank you very much. I look forward to learning more about you. In fact, I'll probably get back to you so that we can put something in Cedar Mill News. All right. The next participant in our panel is Jess Fong, who is the leader of the Sunset Climate Change Club. And they've been doing not quite monthly collection events that bring the opportunity to recycle some of this hard to recycle stuff right to the parking lot of Sunset High School.
Yeah, thank you so much, Virginia.
Thanks for doing what you do, and thanks for being willing to come.
Of course. Yeah, so I am one of the co-presidents of the Climate Change Club at Sunset High School, and I have our website pulled up here. And I'd like to talk about one of our events that are coming up this month. So we're having another recycling drive on Saturday, February 26th. And it'll be from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., which is the time slot that we usually do our drives at. So if you need that for future reference. And for this drive, we're going to be taking styrofoam, number 6 plastics, and household batteries. I would also like to mention that some complications came up with the facility that we were planning on recycling the batteries at. So currently we're not completely sure if we're going to be able to take them, but we should, or we're looking to finalize like our plans by the end of this week. So please check our website in case we have to change some stuff around, but we're for sure taking styrofoam and number 6 plastics, which we'll be taking to Agilix. And then our website is right there. If you have any questions, it's just shsclimatechangeclub@gmail.com. And then I also put our link to get to this website, which is the same thing, but a bit.ly link. And then also I would like to show some graphics that I have on this website that you can also take a look at later. They're pretty helpful. The first 2 on the top are from Agilix themselves. They just have some stuff that they can take, and also the left one shows some stuff that they don't accept. And then I also have some pictures of some posters that our club actually made. One has stuff that we can accept, and then one has stuff that we can't accept, and there's some examples there. So hopefully that should help out. And yeah, those are for the styrofoam and number 6. So yeah. And then we also have some other stuff on the website that you can check out later. We have some other projects and pictures and all. So yeah, thank you so much.
Great. Yeah, someone asked if you advertise your events outside of the website, and I just mentioned that we always publicize them in the news, but maybe you have other ways that you get the word out.
Yeah, great question. I usually make an event on Nextdoor, like an event or a post Nextdoor. We have an Instagram, which is SHS Climate Change Club. And we also reach out to some community members. If you would like us to email you, we do kind of keep a track of people who like to be emailed. So you could send us an email and we'll like have your email on record if you'd like us to do that.
No, I don't think I've ever seen anything on my Nextdoor, and that's because the Nextdoor neighborhoods are quite contained. You might be sure that all of your members publish on their Nextdoor so that it covers the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea.
Yeah. And you know, if you have something last minute, let me know and I'll share it on Cedar Mill News group.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I love this. The kids, you know, the kids are the ones that are going to have to live on this planet after we've made a mess of it. So, all right. Well, I think unless you have something else to tell us about, I think we'll go ahead and open up the panel, and I'll have everyone who's presented this evening who's still here go ahead and jump in with video, and we'll take questions from our constituents. So if you have a question that didn't get answered during the discussion, this is the time to raise your hand.
Can
I've
I
got a
answer
few more
questions from the
people that I
chat?
think are still here. Let's see, we've got Jessica. Where's Robin? Did Robin leave?
Nope, right here.
Robin.
Yep.
Okay, good. There you are. Okay, excellent. Yeah, and you're very welcome for putting it together. I feel like I'm leading a 3-ring or 6-ring circus here tonight, but I think we're pulling it off. And so I see that we do have some people raising their hands. Carol, go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. I'd like to know, you were talking about collection events and someone indicated that there were ones where you could recycle number 5s.
Yep.
Can you say, can somebody say something about where they are?
Yes. So the ones that I can speak to are the ones that James Recycling host, and they tend to do them in different quadrants of town. So March 12th, 10 to 12:30, they're in Beaverton. So you want to put that on your calendar. They're at Vernier Software, just around the corner from the Habitat Restore. And so what's different about collection events, remember when you recycle plastics curbside, it's by size and shape and how many ounces it is. When you go to a collection event, it's typically by number. So at that collection event, they will take clear number 1s, only clear number 1s. Don't bring your other colors because they are not accepted. Why? Because the berry packagers want more recycled content in their packaging. That's where the drive's coming from. They'll take number 2s. That'll be a lot of your small over-the-counter pill bottles. It can be some lids. They'll take 4s. Those are mostly going to be your lids for butter, hummus, those sorts of things that you peel off and they fit tightly. 5s are what we probably take most of. 5s are ubiquitous. Your Starbucks lids are 5s. Basically everything that comes out of Starbucks is a 5 for that matter. They do take 6s. And so the way the James Recycling event works, just if you don't know at a high level, James is a high performing Asperger's kid. So that's his means of living. And so they charge $3 per paper grocery bag. And I would say they're very generous. The first time I must have showed up with 19 bags and they charged me nothing. And I mean, like $6, but they're very reasonable about it. They also take some specialty things. So any sort of screw top, like this little hard plastic screw top thing, separate those out. If you do contact lens, they'll take the blister packs. Inside your milk carton, when you pull it open, there's a little pull tab. That's a number 5, separate it out. They'll take those. They'll take straws. What else am I missing? But anyway, when you go to collection events,
happens to that stuff?
number. Sorry?
What happens to that stuff?
So it goes to different places. A lot of it goes to Denton Plastics. And that's what was really interesting for me when I started volunteering at these events. I never thought about the fact that there are commercial recyclers that we as residents don't interact with. But most of it goes, 6s obviously go to Agilix. I'm losing the name of the company that takes the 1s. I believe it's a different company, but I think the 2s, 4s, and 5s all go to Denton Plastics, which is a Portland address, practically in Gresham.
Great. Okay, Joanne. You may speak. Joanne Delmonico, I believe you had something to ask. No, she's put her hand down. Okay.
So she's asking about square plastic tubs. So again, those can, if you're at a collection event, those are generally number 5s, but again, check, you can take them to a collection event. But if you don't want to do the collection event, then yeah, they go in the trash. We have a new buzz phrase in the recycling community, when in doubt, toss it out. So rather than trying to recycle, yeah.
I have a question. You were talking, I know quite a while ago, I was asking Washington County recycling people. They said that anything smaller than the palm of your hand wasn't going to get recycled in the commingling. And I've kind of used that even for paper, they said. And so like bottle caps, but you were talking about something you were doing with small metal objects. Could you describe that again? I sort of
Yeah,
missed
the
it.
classic thing is just a can. And when you open the lid, don't cut the lid all the way off, leave it attached. Fill it up with your bits and bobs. I've got 3 sitting beside my sink. And then when it's full, crimp it. And so that everything stays inside, and pitch it in your commingled bin.
Very good. I like that. I hate to throw any metal away, but I was told that, you know, bottle caps in the commingling just go in the trash anyway. So that's a wonderful, solution. I love it. All right, who have we got? Carol Powers, did you have a question to ask our panel?
No.
Hi, we can hear you.
No, I asked mine already. You called on me.
Oh, the collection events, yeah.
Yeah.
All righty.
Let's see here.
Now, I know some people asked questions that didn't get answered. I'll scroll back.
Yeah, someone asked a question about food in the yard waste.
Yeah.
So I just want to be really clear here. We live in unincorporated Washington County. We can't put food scraps in our yard waste. But if you're in Forest Grove, Hillsborough, or Beaverton, you can definitely do that. And it's everything. It's eggshells, it's rotten food, it's coffee filters, it's tea bags. It can all go in your yard waste in those communities.
And if you have property, if you have a yard and you have a corner of your yard and you like to garden, find out how to do your own composting, because putting your kitchen waste and the trimmings from your cut flowers and all that kind of stuff into an actual compost bin, you'll end up with a good deal of patience and some luck. You'll end up with nice compost that you can use in your garden. I've been doing it for years, and our composter just broke, and we're going to have to figure out how to fix it or get another one, but it isn't all that hard. And while we wait for the powers that be to start helping us compost food waste, you can do it yourself in your backyard if you have enough space. Hi, Caleb. I'm glad you're back.
I want to say the master recyclers will teach composting. So you can call up master recyclers and get composting techniques.
Excellent. And you can get red worms to help compost. Side note, I had red worms that decided that my hot tub was the place to be. And for a couple of years in the winter when it rained, I'd open and lid up my hot tub and it would be all the germy wormies would be hanging out and mating under the lid of my hot tub. I didn't particularly like it.
I have frogs in my hot tub.
Yes, I've had them too. Anyway, gee, I'm not seeing any more questions here.
I was just going to comment on one more thing in the chat. Someone mentioned #1
You bet.
plastics. And I've been told anecdotally that New Seasons is taking clear #1 clamshells now. I haven't gone and seen it with my own 2 eyes, but just a reminder that they do take Pactex, those weird, they're #2 plastics, the things that hold a 6-pack of beer together. They're called Pactex. You can dispose those there, as well as corks. They're just right by the bar in New Seasons.
Yeah. I just signed up for some new service that gathers leftover food from restaurants and shops, and you can, I forget, it's called something box or something. I've never had the patience to try to actually get it. It seems like mostly donuts, which I don't eat, but you know, there's growing recognition that food waste shouldn't be tossed. There are certainly some cleaning groups that go out and collect it from grocery stores and bakeries and so forth and distribute it to folks who need the food. But we can all play our part there. And just before COVID, I got a set of lovely containers that you can take to the restaurant with you to take your leftovers home in. And of course, we haven't been able to use them for quite some time. So I'm looking forward to that again. Gee, I can't believe it. We may just end up quickly. Yeah. Would everybody like to make a couple of closing comments? Caleb?
Well, I feel like I spoke too much already, but really do appreciate everybody's time and the work that Jessica and Robin and others that spoke. I touched on this at the end, but Ridwell really does see itself as sort of one part of a much larger effort. And our goal is to try and reach those folks, whether it's from a mobility issues or time issues, that the drop-off options are not something that they can take advantage of as often as maybe they'd like to, and that we can maybe help those folks and encourage people to begin to really think seriously about their consumption habits as well. And one of the main reasons that we really lean into education and letting people know, like, hey, look, I know it says that there's plastic foam, but this this not to hit them, knock on Trader Joe's, but the Trader Joe's packs, that's like 8 types of plastic. It may be an exaggeration melted together, but it is not something that we can take, and letting people know that like that's actually a contaminant for us and not something that Trex is able to turn into plastic decking. So how do we help create greater awareness? And the zero waste organizations, we share the long-term goal, and our hope is that we can partner, whether it's again, new larger policy, and the Oregon's been a leader in the last legislative session on that front, on extended producer responsibility, and we really applaud the work that went into that. And our hope is that we can continue to partner with organizations, with governments across the state of Oregon and elsewhere on how we can really join forces and do our part to help reduce waste. So
what do you need us to do to encourage the county to let you continue?
Well, again, I think unfortunately, as I said at the beginning, the county commissioners are literally refusing to meet with us at the moment, and which you teed up. There is a lawsuit. The lawsuit looks backward.
Yeah, they do that when a lawsuit is
in the past. Well, unfortunately, they started this before there was a lawsuit, and we were told that that was the case before the lawsuit. And part of the reason we filed the lawsuit is that we couldn't get anybody to take our calls, and nobody would have a conversation with us about future policy. And
we're their constituents and their voters, so we can talk to them.
That's the hope. And again, we understand that not everybody's going to agree or have with our position, but the more that people speak up, our belief is that we'll end up in the best possible position. And again, we are very careful. We are not presenting ourselves as the answer to all of these challenges, but it is a mindset of, is this a place where we want new ideas and new innovation and new things coming forward to help more and more residents be able to do a little bit more? Or are we going to shut this off and stick with a monopoly system where people aren't incentivized to do anything different than what they've done in the past? And I think that's the policy decision that is in front of the county right now. And to the extent that folks agree that we need more innovation, we need these new ideas, we would certainly appreciate your support and reaching out to your elected officials and encouraging them to rethink the policy path that several of them expressed some support for.
There seems to be a little time.
Yes.
Thank you, Caleb.
So thank you all. Really appreciate the time.
Jessica, do you have any final messages or words to share?
I would actually piggyback off something Caleb said there at the end, that we really are in a, when it comes to waste management and zero waste, this is a multifaceted approach. There is no single, think so many different things have led us to the situation we're in today. It's, it would be, irresponsible of us to think that one company or one process or one system could get us out of it. It would be the simple thing, of course, it would be our preference as human beings, I think, but we know that that's not what it's going to take, and so, having a complex system that supports itself and one another, I think is really the way to go. And I think, as Oregonians, we're really fortunate to have organizations like Ridwell, but also, groups like Master Recyclers and, citizen activists like Sandra Wright, who are, getting out there and getting involved. So I'm, really hopeful, and it's always great to see everybody kind of come together here because we get more done.
It certainly
we get
is.
more done together.
It is. Robin, did you have anything else that you wanted to share?
I just echo what Jessica and Caleb both said, and I just further say, look at what you're buying and using with critical eye. Make it a game, challenge yourself. What can you do differently? And just start small and chip away. The first thing I did is I didn't need to use moisturizer that came in a tube. I found a perfectly acceptable face wash product that happens to be a bar wrapped in paper. Works beautifully. Another thing I did, it's funny what'll piss you off, excuse me for saying that, but the little plastic scoop in the powdered laundry detergent, because you get one every single time, pisses me off big time. I started making my own laundry detergent. And now, of course, you can get the nice little paper things. So just start somewhere small, chip away at things that resonate with you.
One thing that I wanted to mention that didn't really get brought up tonight, I love my Buy Nothing group. And I found that if I collect something, that 2 or 3 of something is trash, 30 of something is something that somebody else can use. It's amazing. I mean, I save containers and then I post them on Buy Nothing, and somebody needs those and they take them and reuse them. And like the big flat plastic bottoms of things, I use them under plants as a plant saucer. And so don't look at these things that you're about to throw away as trash. Look at them as, is that a shape that would help me do something else? And yeah, sure, eventually plastic's going to deteriorate. You're going to need another one, but you probably will have another one by that time. Sandra, did you have any closing words?
I just wanted to echo the same thing everybody else has said too. I'm also a master recycler. I'm showing my age, but I was class of 5, class number 5. So I'm been a few years since, and it's changed a lot in the past 30 years since I've been a master recycler.
Yes, it has.
It's great to see it. It's sad when there's setbacks like what's happened with the vote and everything. But there's all sorts of new groups out there. I think, Virginia, you must be talking about Too Good to Go, the excess food.
That's it.
I'm a member of that. I'm a member of
Yes.
I'm also a member of Waste Not Food Taxi. We take leftover food from different schools and take it to the food pantry. I did that tonight. And
That's right. If you have, I mean, back in the olden days when people had big events and they had them catered and there was food left over, the Waste Not Food Taxi would come and pick it up and get it to the people who really needed the food.
There's many different groups you can volunteer for and be a part of to lower the waste in the world.
And now we have on the Cedar Mill News website, there's a who to call link. And I think I want to start a recycling topic on that. And we'll collect all these different resources and stick them up there. Jess, do you have some closing words for us from the future?
I'm not sure, but this was a really interesting conversation. I liked hearing everyone's things and how you guys reuse stuff and all. But yeah, thank you so much for inviting our club to talk here.
Well, thanks for coming. And thanks for gathering your fellow students to talk about this important stuff.
Of course.
Well, we can quit early unless anybody else has either questions or comments that they care to share. Brenda, did you want to pop in? Oh, okay.
No, I just usually hop on to wave everybody when we sign off.
Excellent. Well, thanks to everybody that joined us tonight. We will track down that DEQ person and be sure to include that at the beginning of our March meeting. I don't even know what we're going to talk about in March, but I know that in April, we will have a vast parade of candidates and measures that will be appearing on your ballot in May, including the Beaverton School Bond. I think the sheriff's asking for a tax
renewal,
item.
a renewal of the enhanced sheriff's
Yeah,
district.
yeah.
So
The school bond is actually going to add a little money to your tax bill, but and Vicky is going to examine that whole thing for us in the Cedar Mill News. I know I keep talking about the news, and yes, it is a commercial activity, but it's also one of your best sources for information that you're not going to find anywhere else. So if you don't already, please sign up at cedarmillnews.com and get it in your inbox. And I'm very happy to report that a bunch of people weren't getting it because I had failed to authenticate the email. And I finally figured that out. And so a bunch more people are getting our emails. I shouldn't be in charge of anything, but I suddenly find myself. And Vicky's little brother Ian is going to help us out a lot with our technical stuff. These kids, it's amazing. I love them. I love them.
Ian is really amazing. He tried to teach me some of the stuff, and I definitely felt the weight of age there. I want to make sure that anybody who wants to be a master recycler knows that it's a volunteer program that you can sign up to get trained in. It's kind of a coveted slot to get into the training, but it is a whirlwind of skills that you will come out with. And the leveraged 30 hours of volunteer time that come out of it is a testament to the kind of is an ideal kind of public service where you learn something and then you give back. I think it's tremendous. It ended up being by the State Pension Service and passed to the city of Portland using the same processes. And I can't really say enough good about the Master Recyclers. So I think it's masterrecycle.org.
Yeah.
And check them out. And you can also throw your hat in the ring to get the training.
And Bruce, just to continue on your point real quickly, Bruce, I'm not sure if you're aware, Lauren is retiring at the end of March, and Master Recycler program is moving from City of Portland to Metro.
So. Yes. Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm absolutely astounded that we are not going overtime tonight. I guess my whip is still a functional whip. And thanks for coming, and be sure to join us next month. Bye.